that should be everyone for now. I'm sure we'll have a few others join as well over the next couple of minutes, but we'll kick things off. So good morning, everybody. I'm Matt, I'm the Digital Strategy Director at Selesti, and I'm joined today by the lovely Louise, one of our SEO account managers. So yes, welcome to the first Selesti webinar of 2021, unfortunately still in lockdown, but nonetheless, today's webinar is going to focus on your local SEO strategy. I think that's sort of particularly important at the moment, where we're seeing a sort of rising trend of customers looking to shop and support local businesses during the current pandemic. So hopefully there'll be some good tips and thought starters here for you all to sort of take away and action for your own businesses. The talk should last between 20 to 25 minutes, and then we'll have some time at the end for sort of some questions and some wider discussions as well. If you do have any questions throughout the talk, please do submit them using the Q&A function at the bottom. And without further ado, I'll hand you over to Louise.
Thank you very much, Matt. What I might do is I'm going to turn off my video, just say hello, and I am here. But my Wi-Fi, I live in rural Norfolk, and for anyone who's working from home in rural Norfolk, you will understand my pain. So I will just stop my video now. Try and help bandwidth. So yeah, as Matt said, I am Louise. I work at Selesti as SEO Account Manager. Today's talk is on creating your local SEO strategy in 2021. So we'll kind of jump straight in. We've just got a bit of kind of good news that we want to share. We are B Corp certified and we're very proud of it. So we want to quickly just kind of shout about that. So briefly put, it means we help mission-driven and ethical businesses scale up, boost profits, and make a positive and meaningful impact. Little bit of a side note as well, I'm 32 weeks pregnant and I can't remember the last time I spoke for 20 minutes in a row. So if I get out of breath, it's because there's less room for my lungs right now. So jumping straight into it. So back in 2019, it was reported that 46% of all Google searches are looking for local information, and that 4 in 5 consumers use search engines to find that local information, meaning that if your business is not showing, then it's one of your competitors, and that was a study by SEMrush. So since 2019, 2020 hit, and COVID-19 catapulted marketing, kind of flipped on its head. The whole world's flipped on its head, but it catapulted local shopping into the forefront again. So consumers have placed increasing importance over buying local over the course of the year, which means if you own or manage a business that operates in a local area, if 2020 didn't push the local kind of your local SEO strategy to the forefront, then 2021 needs to be the year that you really look to change this. So let's first take it back to the beginning. For those who might not have heard much about local SEO, or maybe you have, you just aren't really sure what the difference is when people mentioned kind of more, we'll call it in this presentation, traditional SEO versus local SEO. So I like this definition from Ahrefs. So we can see that local SEO refers to the process of optimizing your online presence to attract more business from relevant local searches. So local SEO and traditional SEO, I like to put it like this. So they're kind of closely related, perhaps you could say sisters. So only your business can decide who's the big or little sister. But if you operate in a certain area, then there's no way you can picture your marketing house without them. And that's because you need them both to be successful in the local sphere. If you neglect traditional SEO, then the reputation of your house isn't as strong. Therefore, you're likely to reach a ceiling with your local SEO results and vice versa. If you nurture them both, then you'll find that you're able to watch them grow together. But that's enough with the kind of family analogy. Hopefully you just kind of understand their relationship there. So you need to think about traditional SEO work alongside your local SEO. So things such as technical, crawling and indexing, that comes under technical SEO. On-site SEO, so content and HTML, think page titles, everything like that. Off-site SEO, so backlinks, and then content, creating that high quality, unique content needs to be seen alongside your local SEO strategy. So if you're still not sold, then back in November, Google every year releases its 2020 kind of holiday shopper report. So although this report focuses on holiday shoppers, we can take a wider view for how consumer habits have changed since COVID-19. So a couple of these stats, so searches for available near me have grown globally by 100% since last year. Searches for support local business grew 20,000%. Searches for curbside pickup grew 3,000%. I've popped a link, because we're going to share these slides with you guys, to the Search Engine Journal article that quoted these, so you can have a little look. But that sheds kind of an important insight into how important local shops and local businesses have become to people over the course of 2020. Another study found that almost 3/5 of UK shoppers are supporting local businesses more than they used to, according to research. And then figures commissioned by Small Business Saturday and American Express revealed 59% of UK shoppers are choosing local businesses over corporate. That's not to say if you're not a corporate business with a local kind of presence that it's not important, it still is. So what does it entail? So for the reference of this presentation, I'm going to be referring to kind of 5 core factors that can influence your local SEO performance. So this is arguable again, some people might see this more or less, but the first one is your Google My Business profile. Then we've got your reviews, on-site optimizations from a local SEO standpoint, backlinks or link building outreach from a local SEO standpoint, and then citations. So I'll be explaining these in more detail as we go on through the presentation. But arguably as well, there are other elements that you kind of might want to look at, but I haven't included these in the 5 core pillars. So that's things such as behavioural, so the click-through rate, mobile clicks to call, etc. Having a look at that, and then personalisation. So say, for example, this is more important for countries where you might have multilingual needs or languages. So say, for example, if my phone is set to English preference and there's an English business in the local listings that's optimized for English speaking customers, then I'm more likely to get that local listing search results back, as opposed to, say, for example, Spanish. If I had my Spanish phone, then I'm more likely to get the Spanish optimized local listings. But that can even be at a more granular level. So, for example, my partner's browsing history and my browsing history might mean that there's a slight difference in those kind of local SEO results that we both get on our phones. But that's a little bit less rare, but still important to note. So within our team, we love sharing kind of data and analysis, and my wonderful colleague Iveta shared a couple of weeks back on LinkedIn Whitespark's 2020 local search rankings factors survey result. So they asked leading SEO experts a series of questions to help determine what they are focusing on in their 2020 local SEO marketing strategies. So while the fundamentals of local SEO are generally the same as they were 10 years ago, they tend to see shifts every year in the strategies and the tactics that local SEOs are focusing on. Now, like we said, well, I wouldn't recommend obviously basing your whole strategy on these findings, but it can give you a good kind of indicator, should I say, of what actually local SEO experts are focusing on. We'll chat about this in a bit more detail. Some experts, you can see, say, for example, citations have dropped in importance in 2020, whereas Google My Business has skyrocketed. Now, you could argue that citations are still important on a business by business case basis, but you know, it's one of those things you will have to weigh that up. Use this as a guide, but don't make it inform your strategy totally. So where to begin? Like every marketing activity, you're going to want to run an audit, and this is no different to local. This will help you understand where you are and where you want to be. So with a local SEO audit, that's the time that you can take stock. So there's a number of ways you can do it. So the first thing obviously we'd say is we have so many businesses who come to us that are automatically tracking their keywords at, say, a national level, whilst overlooking their rankings at a local level. So for example, searches for baby shop or eco-friendly baby shop are going to dramatically differ based on your location. So this becomes increasingly important if you own more than one store to understand where your high value keywords are and where you're performing well in. So for example, you could rank 25th for the term eco-friendly baby shop, and then nationally you'll rank 25th, and then you could rank 5th in Norwich and then 2nd in Cambridge if you've got 2 branches there. But if you're not tracking it, how will you ever know? As you can see, obviously babies are on my mind at the minute. The next thing is obviously reviewing how your data enters your Google Analytics account. So that's one of the things a lot of people overlook. So the easiest way to do that and make sure that data is kind of entering your account correctly, is to use UTM codes, and you can add them to all of your Google My Business listings. So this will give you additional insight to who's clicking that. It's just a little snippet of code. You can Google it, really easy to do. And again, if you've got multiple branches, you can define that you have those multiple branches within UTM code, and it'll just enter your Google Analytics account a lot more cleanly, and you then understand kind of where people are coming from. A few tweaks to your channel grouping settings also will make sure that you enter, or that data enters your Google Analytics account as its own dedicated channel, making reporting on the success that you're going to be building towards in 2021 even easier. And then finally, kind of having a look at conducting a competitor analysis. So who doesn't love a good snoop on their competitors? And that's no different for local. So find out who your local competitors are. Have they done much to optimize their local presence? So what are they doing well? What are they doing not so well? This is will help you kind of build out your local SEO strategy even further, and kind of understand who your top competitors are, because this will differ nationally as opposed to kind of locally. Possibly it will help you save time with your workload as well. You might think, oh, this person's done a great job here, maybe I'll look to implement that in my strategy, but don't straight up copy them. Use it as a guide, but yeah, don't use that completely. Copying is not good practice. And then obviously the next thing you want to do is audit how you're performing in the 5 core local SEO pillars. So breaking down these 5 core SEO pillars, you'll start to get an idea of what to include in your 2021 strategy through your audit, but this is kind of where you want to do that big bulk of work as well. So just a little bit of background as well. We're going to talk probably more extensively on Google My Business. It has become really important over the last 2 years, 5 years, everything like that. Your Google My Business profile powers a lot of your visibility within the search engine's results pages, or SERPs as we call them. So that includes the knowledge graph, that's powered from your Google My Business listing, your map listings, your local search pack. So you can see in there everything such as your reviews are included, your review rating, your images, everything like that. So you need to make sure you get that presence correct. So, like we mentioned, it's likely going to be a biggie for your business. As we saw from Whitespark's SEO or local SEO ranking factors study, we can see that the importance of Google My Business signals jumped 25% from 25% in 2018 to 33% in 2020. So local SEO experts do place a lot of importance on it. So the first thing to do, if you don't have it already, is claim it if you haven't. The amount of people that don't claim their Google My Business page is crazy, or that, you know, in the past someone set one up. So make sure you claim that. So first things first as well, 67% of consumers say that they wouldn't use a business if the review said it didn't have a COVID-19 health and safety, or didn't have good COVID-19 health and safety measures in place. And that was a Bright Local consumer review. Since COVID-19 has happened, Google released a bunch of features to help your business deal with the impact of it. So they rolled out COVID-19 specific posts for businesses, so you can quickly highlight any changes to your customers. You can also highlight any temporary closes, changes to regular services. So are you offering a delivery service? Any safety precautions you might have put in place, so screens to protect your customers. So now we enter a kind of third lockdown, and we've been in it for a little while now. It's still important to make sure you're updating those features. And if you're closing, please update your Google My Business profile. I went to a shop the other day and they hadn't updated it, and I went thinking, oh, it's open, and it was closed. And it annoys people before they even are able to purchase with you. So number 2 is obviously optimize your setup. So setup per industry can vary. If you're a restaurant, then there's going to be a lot more options that you can add there. But the first things first is make sure your name, address, and phone number, we abbreviate this to NAP, is correct. Easy, you might say, but it's crazy. Again, the amount of people that come to us with a slightly incorrect name, their address, they've moved and it's not been updated, anything like that. So make sure it's the right information on there. Also, make sure you set your primary Google My Business category. and that is one of the closest matches to your valuable kind of search term that you want to rank for. You can then add additional categories for as many kind of related categories that relate to your business, and it's important to get those right. Create an optimized business description that includes important keywords and phrases. You'll get about 750 characters to play with there. So just make sure you add as much detail as possible, and that'll be a bit of a theme. The next thing is obviously reviews and questions. So closely monitor and respond to reviews. Positive reviews have a positive impact. Google My Business reviews play a major part in the local algorithm, should I say, as keywords in the review kind of will help you rank. And Google highlights these search terms for the reviews as well. But I'll be talking in detail about reviews next, so don't worry about that. And then also customers they can leave questions on your Google My Business profile, so make sure you're monitoring that, and if anyone does ask a question, answer it and answer it well. There's also kind of some chatter that these answers from the Q&As could be used with voice search answers in the future, so it definitely is an important feature to think about. Number 4 is obviously upload great images. So you can upload interior, exterior, product photos, and those of the team. So make sure you use an eye-catching cover photo as well. That high quality imagery is super important. Bright Local found that the importance of images back in 2011, when 60% of consumers said that local search results with good images captured their attention, and that's no different from today. So make sure you have amazing images if possible. Next is obviously enable messages. So this is a bit of a new feature that's come around. What you'll need to do is you'll need to have the Google My Business app to kind of have this feature, but Moz has predicted that in 2021, using their local success report, they think that Google will push harder on the Google messaging. So you're going to have to start thinking about whether you've got the resource to manage that and whether that's something you could look to implement. Number 6 is obviously amplify your business. So if you've got any events on, obviously probably not in person at the minute, but say for example webinars or online events, share it via your Google My Business listing. So it wants to be an extension of your business, so treat it as such. So sharing any good news or opportunities via there. Number 7 is adding products, obviously if you're an e-commerce business. So Google allows you to add products to your listing. As we've highlighted, adding as much detail to your Google My Business listing is beneficial. So a trial, if you've got a lot of branches, this can be a lot of work because you can't do a bulk export, but maybe trial adding it to a few locations. Make sure you add UTM codes to this as well, and you can measure how it's performed. If it performs well, roll it out to the rest of your branches. If it doesn't perform as well, then just leave it. Don't waste the time on doing it. Next, obviously boosting conversions. So Google My Business, you should treat the listing to try and help boost your conversions. So using posts, for example, to help optimize or highlight your company, any good company news or product USPs, you do get the posts do get real estate in the SERP, so it's good to kind of add them there. And then, like I mentioned, so Google is continually refining its tools and features. So testing, for example, they're testing at the minute new performance metrics for the report. So that might be something that's going to roll out soon. You'll need to be proactive about these updates, making sure that you check back to see whether there's any new developments that you could kind of trial on your page. But just a word of warning, obviously, don't go overboard with any new feature, especially if you own a lot of listings. They are renowned for rolling back some of the updates that they push out. So don't get disheartened if you put a lot of work into something. Say, for example, if products get rolled back next year, don't be disheartened by that. If you've had a quick win and you saw that you had good performance from that, then that's good. But weigh up the pros and cons and test. If there's a new feature, try it out for a few locations, positive result, roll it out. Don't just roll it out because they could roll it back as well, wasting your time. So the next thing is obviously reviews. Reviews are good for 2 reasons, and they are a biggie. Customers love them, obviously, and Google loves them. So Google's own documentation states that high quality reviews can improve your business visibility. And then another study by Bright Local showed that 87% of consumers read online reviews for local businesses in 2020, up from 81% in 2019. So you're really going to have to make this part of your strategy. The first thing to do is obviously audit all of your existing reviews, whether that's on your Google My Business profile, social media profiles, a review platform such as Trustpilot. Speak with your sales team as well. Do you own a lot of branches? Make sure you're not reviewing your reviews as a whole. Review each branch individually. So you're going to want to spend time creating a review strategy. You might want to know you're going to want to know what common complaints are before you start to roll out schemes to get more reviews. Because if there's a lot of complaints in one branch and then you ask for more reviews, studies tend to show that consumers are more likely to leave a negative review. So you don't want to put that work into getting yourself loads of negative reviews. So once you've got that sorted, create your review strategy. So how are you going to get these? One of the most effective ways is to utilize email campaigns. So perhaps send a follow-up email once a customer makes a purchase or visits you in store. Of course, this is easier for businesses where you might have an appointment-based business, such as a dentist or something like that. You've got a record of the customer that ties it to the you've got their email and everything like that. If you don't have the luxury of that, then pop leaflets or posters around your branch. It could be a good way to get customers to leave that review. However much we would love to say incentivize leaving reviews, it's really against Google's guidelines. So don't do it. You might find that if Google finds out that you've been doing it, then you're going to catch wind of what's been happening and they're going to remove all of your reviews. Sorry if I paused there for a second, it looked like I went offline. So respond to your reviews. Next one, respond to your reviews, good or bad. So Google's guidelines actively encourage businesses to respond to reviews. So it's a potential SEO benefit in it. And then not only that, it shows your customers value and appreciate your feedback. So if the feedback is negative, then look to take it on board and show customers you do care. Try not to use a generic thank you or sorry to. Make these personable. The reviewer has spent the time providing you with the feedback, and a personal approach is great. Again, we've all seen the viral businesses or the reviews that businesses have left, and that's not what 2021 needs after 2020. So on-page optimizations are the next thing you need to focus on. So how are people searching in your area? Are you a dentist based in Norwich? Then use keyword tools like Google Planner, SEMrush or Ahrefs to understand how your users in each area are searching and what the most common search is. Google has an autocomplete function in the search bar as well, and that can show you what popular searches are. So that's a nice handy trick to do it if you don't have access to those kind of platforms. Like we said earlier, make sure that you input these into your keyword tracking tool and monitor their performance alongside your competitors. Then what you want to do is use your keyword research document to optimize your on-site copy. So to help you start producing your content strategy for your site from a local SEO standpoint. So the strategy for your optimized on-site copy will vary depending on your business. Say, for example, if you are just focused in one area versus having multiple locations. One of the things, obviously, you see quite a lot of people used to do is don't simply put content from that's exactly the same and then duplicate that and then just add the location kind of name as different. That's extremely poor practice, and there's little value in it. Think about Google's EAT guidelines, so that's expertise, authoritativeness, and then trustworthiness. Have a little look and read into them and just make sure you're producing that high quality copy. And then the next thing is obviously mobile user experience. So 61% of mobile searchers are more likely to contact a local business if they have a mobile friendly site. So if Google's mobile friendly first update that we rolled out a little while back didn't make you think about putting mobile first, then local searchers, it needs to make sure that you do. Test on mobile. If you're a customer and you're struggling, then your customers are going to be struggling as well. So, and then the next thing is obviously multiple branches. So like I briefly mentioned, if you do have multiple branches, you're going to have to take a bit of a different strategy. But, you know, it's still super important. One of the main things is create a contact page for each branch that features your NAP, so your name, address and phone number, an embedded map. Link to your branch contact page from your Google My Business when you're doing any citation or local link building, which we'll talk about on the next couple of slides. So with links, depending on the size of the business you own or that you manage, then you might have already got a backlink strategy in place. But it's important not to overlook your local outreach strategy for each branch. For example, the locations you do business with, they are going to need to have time and attention spending on them too. So the first things first, again, is to start reviewing all of your local competitors. Remember, these can vary greatly per location, and then audit your own backlinks. You can use sites such as Ahrefs, Majestic, SEMrush to analyze where your competitors are against yourself. So a competitive backlink gap is a great way to show where you might be missing links, whereas your competitors have them. So for example, if your competitor features on the Norfolk Chamber of Commerce, then why can't you too? And just start building that into your strategy. So the next step is obviously developing that strategy for your backlink outreach work. So I'm not going to lie to you and say that it's super easy to build links. Our colleague Jordan specializes in it, and it is super hard. I'm sure she gets nightmares daily about it, but you're likely going to have to put that hard work in, and it will pay off. So think about, for example, if you're hosting again an event, if it's a virtual event or anything like that, or partnering with a local charity, or you have a good piece of business news, then there's nothing to say it won't be covered by local publications. So reach out to your local newspaper or your local events page, and possibly invite local bloggers to kind of, if you're doing a virtual launch or anything like that, invite a local blogger if they've got their own domain, and then you might get social coverage as well as a backlink there. Develop a strategy of outreach over the year and try to strike up and build those relationships with local websites. And then, like we said, building outreach work is not going to be easy, but be persistent. If it doesn't pay off, try a follow-up email, sometimes a phone call. Persistency can pay off, and I'm sure Jordan will vouch for that. The next thing is obviously citations. So a citation is basically anything, it's the yellow pages of the internet, should I say. So it's an online mention of a name, address, or your phone number on those pages. So you can think about sites such as Yale or Touch Local or anything like that. So the first thing you need to start to do is review your citation score. So you can use things like Moz Local or Yale Connect Scan, and they can help you with this. So you'll need to get your score on how accurate your listings are on those main citation sites such as Yale, Touch Local or Scoop. This is going to be a good indication of how well your citations around the internet are kind of adding up, but it's not going to be the be all and end all. Don't just follow this. You'll have to do a little bit of manual checking, but it's a good indication of your citation health. So once you've got that kind of understanding of how important they are or how well you're doing, create your hit list. So start with the nationals, and Yale Connect Scan or Moz Local will help you start to do that. But you might also want to look at some specific local ones. So a local newspaper might have their citation area. And industry specific ones. So if you're in a certain industry, have a look. Customers can find you, but what it means is it just means that search engines have that multiple kind of places of truth to know that yes, you do actually, you are located at that address, that is your name and that's your phone number. It gives them information, and they love information, to say that you definitely are located there. So like I said, the importance of citations are hotly debated, and we can see that from WhiteSpark's recent report. But if you're a new business and it's recently changed, or you've recently changed your address, it can't be ignored. And then also, if you review your citation score and it's really poor, again, don't ignore it. As well, if you ever get some downtime, I'm not sure who I'm kidding here, but if you ever do, it's not going to harm to kind of keep citations on your radar and just start adding them to a few sites. So that's it in about a 20-minute nutshell, hopefully, a guide to your 2021 local SEO strategy. So we recommend kind of starting this in an Excel doc, dump all of your finding in and use that to kind of plan out your actions. Hopefully you'll get enough to plan for Q1 and Q2. I can imagine you might be able to plan for the whole year. But remember to keep revisiting it. So much can change overnight, as we learned last year. So don't get complacent, and then make sure you share your plan with the wider team. So this talk kind of focused on local SEO mainly, but there are a few other ways you can help to drum up local business. So the first one is Google's guaranteed program. So this is relatively new, but the program adds a green badge to your listings for the monthly fee of $50. It's different to Google local service ads, as it's geared more towards organic traffic, and it's simpler for smaller business to use. And then the next thing is obviously Google's local service ads. So these ads show up to customers in your area, and you can only pay, obviously, if a customer contacts you directly through the ads. So local service ads are available only for certain service categories. So you want to have a look whether it's actually something you can run. But if you're thinking about a paid element, it's worth looking into. The same with local inventory ads. It's kind of like Google Shopping for local. You'll need to make sure that your inventory for the physical local store is updated, and they need to know what stock you have in store. So it's a little bit more complicated, but it is definitely still worthwhile looking into. And then finally, a nod to my colleague Kate Norton from a couple of months ago, if anyone was at her webinar, make sure you include it in your multi-channel marketing strategy, everything we've just talked about. So you don't want to be working in silos. You want to think about your kind of local efforts alongside other efforts such as paid, email, social. Remember, it's a combined effort. If you're working in silos, then you're going to reach kind of a ceiling or the limit for that benefit quite quickly. So keep the multi-channel marketing strategy in mind. And that's everything I've covered. So if anyone's got any questions, then please let me know.
Indeed, and thank you very much, Louise. That's much appreciated. I hope the people who've been on the call today found a few useful tips and things to implement.
And I literally had my fingers crossed that I didn't drop out, because your face, Matt, disappeared, and I was like, oh my god, I've dropped out. But thank God I stayed here.
No, you did, yes. The notoriously unreliable rural Norfolk internet connection turned out to be quite reliable today, which is always good. I have a few questions come through, Lou, if that's okay. First of all, I think one we had for is quite a simple question: is that can GMB bad reviews be removed?
No, so sadly they can't. You need to, like we mentioned before, if you're getting those bad reviews, start to implement that in your kind of company strategy. Ask why you're getting those bad reviews, but make sure you respond to them. So, you know, we've all seen, I'm sure you've seen, Matt, the viral reviews of businesses responding less than professionally to those bad reviews. Sadly, you can't remove it, but try to make it a benefit. You can definitely make it a benefit. So just try to remember that the customer obviously is not always right, but on Google My Business, they are.
Absolutely. But for me, I also think that bad reviews aren't necessarily a bad thing. It actually gives you an opportunity. It gives you an opportunity to respond and show that as a business you care, that you're able to effectively respond to customer queries. I think the user generally is quite understanding that we don't always get it right 100% of the time. But
exactly. And you know,
it's always a good thing.
It could highlight a problem at your branch, or you know, if you're a national with lots of different branches, how are you going to know how they're performing if you're not getting that? You know, you're not reviewing and you're not auditing your reviews. It's a great way to kind of understand where pain points in your business might be.
Absolutely. I suppose another one as well is how would one find out who the local competitors actually are?
So you can do that, I think, there's a multitude of ways. So obviously asking people in your branch or whatever, but you can search from a local standpoint. Annoyingly, so if you're based in London, you couldn't search in Scotland, but Google Ads has an area where you can tweak your location, so you can see the SERPs from that point of view. But additional tools such as SEMrush, everything like that, when you start keyword tracking, you can start to analyze who your competitors are within the search engine's results pages, so online, but then there might be a physical presence around there. So that's why it's good to actually speak to people in the branch and you know, who do they think the competitors are and everything like that. So use like online tactics, who's ranking, who's your competitor that's ranking organically, but then obviously use that and who might be a physical competitor, someone that doesn't have that online presence, but you're still going to have to think about them.
Absolutely. And I think a final question I've just seen pop up as well is are there any examples of where you've optimized sort of a poorly executed local setup, and then sort of kind of what sort of things did you do to sort of improve it, and what kind of things and impact did that have for the client?
Yeah, so I mean, one of our clients sells, they're a national, and they sell like water pipes and everything. They've got 26 local branches, and they came to us, and over the past couple of years, we've been working through their citations because they had a lot of disinformation on their citations, or a lot of incorrect information. So we've been working through that, making sure that they were listed with all of the nationals, making sure that they optimize their Google My Business page where possible. And they have seen year-on-year growth with local SEO. And we obviously added the UTM codes there, so we can see that growth. And over 2020, they have seen a lot of growth within their local SEO kind of performance, and it's really benefited their business, especially after such a hard year. So it is 100% worthwhile doing, whether you have one branch and you're located in one area versus you have 26 or even larger, and you're a national.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Louise. I think that's all the questions that we've had come in for now. So thank you everybody for joining. Very, very much appreciated. We'll be sending around an email with a link to a video of this presentation, so you can review it in a bit more detail. Obviously, if you do have any other questions in the future, please do get in contact with Louise or the wider team, and we'll be more than happy to help. We'll have some more webinars coming up soon in February and into March as well, and we'll be sending you all an email with all the relevant details if you'd like to join us again. But other than that, we hope you all have a great day, and we'll speak to you all soon. Thank you.
Bye.